Shut up and sit down.
I've got no skills. What do you want to do about it?
The day is fine, so I take my bike for a ride.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt LeGrand, Evan Price, Lance Heffler, and Jake Von Turing. Can you handle it? Listen to find out.
I turn onto the road to go downtown.
You have no skills and you're a loser!
The wind in my face and the sound in my ear feels so good.
Girls only want boyfriends who have great skills.
Yeah, the wind in my face and the sound in my ear feels so good.
What would you say you do here?
I have people skills. I am good at dealing with people. Can't you understand that?
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Von Turing. I'm here with Lance Heffler.
Lance Romance right here in studio. Surprise, surprise.
Okay, was not expecting that. Figured that you were on some sort of, I don't know, sandy lake somewhere
I've been on a 10-day journey.
Journey. It's been a magical journey.
But I'm back for at least 48 hours. And then I'm headed out again, but we'll get there.
As long as you're back here by Monday when we record these podcasts.
I made it a point to make it back for Monday so that I could be here live with you, Matt LeGrand.
It does make a difference.
And stare into your deep
it's
blue
hard.
eyes.
When I look at the wall, I sometimes cry while I'm podcasting and you're gone. And then, the water ruins the microphone. It messes the whole thing up.
Do you know the really, really bad movie Love Guru?
Yeah.
It kind of almost looks like the, like Utah version of Love Guru. He's like, I've been gone for 10 days in the Utah desert learning about love. And he comes back, and this is what if you're trying to visualize what Lance looks like.
Yep.
He's tanner, somewhat.
A little
bit.
Not much. Yeah.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
No. All right. Moving on.
And that voice, you know him and love him, Mr. Evan Price. So Lance today brings in his shame that he usually just keeps in the car and tries to hide from us.
I got nothing on the table. I don't know what you're talking about.
All of us are drinking sparkling things and all that. Lance, what were you drinking earlier?
I just had a Monster Energy drink. That's why I'm so
sunrise flavor.
That's why I'm so smooth,
animated,
and
extra animated.
Even though I don't really feel the effects of the caffeine. That's what I tell myself.
Yeah. Jake is actually drinking a Superberry Brew Doctor over there. I just spotted that.
Some booch.
A booch, yes.
That's what Carlos calls it. So.
Brew Doctor, yeah.
The booch.
Whatever Carlos calls it is correct.
Exactly.
Carlos also supplied me with this Fit Aid here. Carlos is basically the only thing that's keeping us on the brink of dehydration. So thank you, Carlos.
Tis right, Mr. Matt LeGrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? You guys are looking fan-frickin-tastic today.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep, you can bleep out that, freaking part.
Freaking Matt. Why don't you backpedal for us?
Sure, mine will be fast. I think I spent the entire week on Zwift. I mean, I went outside.
Ride outside yesterday?
I went outside once. Yeah, I sent Jake my normal, hey, I'm leaving in 5.
You should have come and ridden with us at Vancouver Lake yesterday.
Is that what you guys did?
Yeah.
Yeah,
or Saturday, yeah.
We were doing stuff in the morning, and it was beautiful out, and it's been raining. It's been raining all week, and so I was like, I'm gonna go ride my bike. But even that ride was boring. I just rode around, did my normal stuff, cruise around, and yeah. The only time I saw anyone to ride with was on Zwift. I saw Jake a couple times, and I think he's mad about the last podcast when I was like, the Maddie Witt comment when I was like, hey, should I ride with Jake or should I? Who's going to drop me? And then, so anyway, so every time I've seen him on Zwift, he's dropped me pretty much immediately.
I hadn't seen you one time this week.
Yeah, I was on there.
I didn't even see. No,
I was on there, and then I give you a thumbs up, and then you're gone. That's
Did you not choose the ride with option?
Well, I do that, but then it gives you 5 seconds of time with the person.
It does, yeah.
And then, you have to either push up over 100 watts or fall off the pace. And I chose fall off the group.
You have to push well into zone 5.
Yes. Yep. Tough choices. But yeah.
I'm sorry, Matt.
And I swam a couple times and ran a couple times. My little cul-de-sac did this, we don't know, we have all these people that are kind of buddies that are all neighbors, and we all hang out all the time. But they decided to do this like charity 5K thing.
In the cul-de-sac.
Yeah. Well, usually we do like loops around the cul-de-sac, which is ridiculous. It's like
16 loops to a mile.
16 laps a mile. Yeah.
I remember.
You remember that? And we actually ventured out of the cul-de-sac for the 5K.
So you guys do like 52 laps for a 5K?
We didn't. Usually we'll do that if we're doing like a mile or 2 miles or something. We need to stay close. But this was a 5K. We ventured out of the cul-de-sac. We did our charity 5K, which was super fun. And ran a couple times. Took the kids to the skate park yesterday, ran around the skate park.
Nice.
I mean, this is just what you do when you're a dad, I think.
Right,
when you have kids at that age where you have to kind of like watch them, you just do loops.
Right.
Yeah. So pretty embarrassing for my kids, but that's what I'm here for.
They really should put more skate parks just in the middle of tracks.
Yes.
And then you could just do your repeats there.
That should be a thing.
That should
be amazing.
Still on pace for your dialed 100?
Yeah, what number are we on?
Today will be 41.
41?
41 today.
So I did 40 yesterday. It was 40.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man.
Good for you.
That's good. All right, so if I'll
creeping up to the halfway point.
That's getting.
Don't they say that it takes 40 days to create a habit?
I don't know.
Something along
Whoever
those lines.
they are.
Yeah.
They is
said
Jake,
40
and I
days.
believe him.
I can't remember.
I'm all in.
I think
Whatever
it was
Jake says.
60 days, isn't it?
I think it's 40.
Is it 40?
Yeah, I think it's
40 seems easier.
I think they say
I like
41.
40.
I think people say 41.
I think they say 41.
So don't do it today, man.
I think they said have its
Whatever
end
you
at
do.
41 days. I think is how it goes.
I'm missing the tour. I'm missing watching the tour. That's been hard.
We still had a good racing weekend at least, but now I'm really going to miss things.
I'm going to find out what happened in the races on this podcast.
There's racing coming up. Next,
There is.
The Vuelta
There is.
starts.
There's racing every
next week.
weekend from now till.
Yep.
Is it on the NBC app that I've been using, the Vuelta?
No idea.
No idea? Okay.
I have no idea
I
either.
All right, we'll find out.
It is.
I think it is. I think
Yes.
you're right, but I can't tell you for sure.
Where,
I got that cycling pass.
When did the Giro get shoved to? I haven't.
October 3rd to
Okay.
end of October.
Sean Martin just put on the Dialed Cycling Team page a cool little like PDF calendar of what's coming up.
Oh.
Because I was trying to keep track, and I'm like, I don't know. I feel like it's like Giro Stage 12 and the Paris-Roubaix could be on the same day for all I know. I don't even know, but it'll be interesting.
Fantastic.
Evan, backpedal.
So we actually had a pretty fun week. I just decided after the Ironman from last week just to kind of train by feel. I was just talking with Matt. I have no idea what's an appropriate amount to train or not train right now. So when I feel good, I'm training hard, and when I don't want to, I'm just not training.
Yeah. I feel like things like track workouts and things like that maybe should be
I decided not to
kept
track workout
to
this
a
morning.
minimum.
I wanted to real
maybe
bad.
even a couple weeks. I know that sounds
Yeah.
crazy, but
No, I think you're right.
I think that stuff beats you up.
Yeah, I was going to this morning, then me and Josh both decided we're like, no.
Good. I'm
Just-
glad Josh is there too to kind of help.
Like 400 repeats, probably not a good idea today. So, but riding the bike hard is fun. So on Saturday, I'm trying to give, especially the younger juniors, a little bit of like race feel this year in their training because they've had a serious lack of race feel. These poor kids. So on Saturday morning, we went out to Frenchman's Bar, met up, and just did a hard group ride there where it's split up into Cassie Road with Maddie, and we're gonna hopefully that girls group will grow here soon. I think there's couple that want to join that group, which will be fun. And we basically did loops like we did for the triathlon the weekend before, but it works out to a nice little race simulation. So like we'll practice pace lining and technique going out to the stop sign or stoplight at Mill Plain, and then coming back we just open up, and the kids were asking, like, what do we do? I was like, just race. And like, what does that mean? I'm like, just race. Go hard. And I told him, I was like, you can try to break away from the group, but there's a group of 7 are you going to be working to bring you back, so you got to be careful. So it was me, Sean Martin, Nels Martin.
Oh, that's a cool group.
Big Martin, Little Martin. A kid named Adam who is riding with us a bunch now and is just Adam.
I heard that he's
a little beast.
That was the longest ride that he's done.
Yeah.
To date, and he hung in there with everybody.
He hung, and I'm not exaggerating. I mean, we were not going. This was not like, oh, let's learn how to race. No,
I heard you're sitting on the front with about 350 watts.
I was taking a 20-minute FTP test, basically. Like I was joking with Dave. I was like, that's the worst kind of FTP test. I was holding 350 and had to spike up randomly to 500, 600 as the kids would try to take
Close
flyers
gaps,
off the front.
Were you on your road bike or
road bike? Yeah, yeah. I'm just trying to. I was joking with David. I'm like, I'm just trying to use any fitness I have from that Ironman just to go fast for a little bit because it's fun. But
it is fun
for the kids. It's good because they really have to be smart and realize, okay, if I'm trying to get away from a group that's moving, especially for draft legal racing, this is how much it takes out of my legs. So they're getting a feel for that bike racing, which, Elijah really enjoyed. Nels is just a little beast. He's so strong. And Adam it's great to see a kid who was telling me before, he's like, I really haven't done any group riding before, and goes out there. And not only was he strong, he knew how to hang in.
Yeah.
He was right on wheels. He would follow wheels at the right time. Like Sean was telling, because Sean was watching him a little bit more. He's like, he wasn't squirrely at any point. So it's good practice. It's hard to simulate that stuff without just doing it sometimes. And it's good to see that they're doing it. Yep.
That's awesome. Yeah, Sean we were talking yesterday. We did a ride together, and he mentioned how well the kids were doing, how strong they were, great bike handling skills.
Because they're all getting to that age where they're like 16, 17, 18, 19, that age range where all of a sudden they're strong. Like
they're strong really
they're fast
fast
now. Yeah. I mean, when you're 18 years old, you're fast. So Elijah's got a good little sprint, that is for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. We did that, and then Sunday I just ran long. And then I lifted.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I've been doing plyometric training each week, but I was like, I need to actually lift.
Where did you lift at home or?
Yeah, we have Melissa, our roommate, got Olympic lifting bar. So we're just doing circuits at home.
How far did you go for your long run?
Power cleans?
Like 12 miles, I think.
Okay, that sounds good.
Clean and jerk?
Yeah, clean and jerk,
Snatches?
deadlifts.
Yeah. Cool.
Deadlifts will be important for me. I need to work on my functional hamstring length. It's functionally not awesome. So, yeah. But yeah, that was it. That's the week. Boom. Done.
Love Guru Lance Hepler.
Yeah.
Love Guru.
What's up, dude? What have you been up to? Where you been?
I've been around.
No, you haven't.
I did 18 hours last week. Get this. I did 12 rides last week.
Jeez.
So, which ones do you want to hear about?
Oh, my God.
I did 12 different rides in the last 7 days.
Jeez.
And I already rode this morning. But I did 12 rides. Do you want to hear about mountain biking on Antelope Island with the Buffalo, the 23-mile climb on the road bike, mountain biking in Park City along the Wasatch Crest.
Where did you find a 23-mile climb?
Riding on a dry lake bed. Buttery gravel in Harney County, Oregon, near Burns. I got too many things to talk about. What should you guys want to hear?
Pick your
Stop
two favorite
flexing
rides.
us, dude. Stop flexing us.
I'm just flexing here. Look at all the riding I did.
What was your favorite ride?
We all
Start with
hate
that.
you so much. Ooh, this one looks... I'm trying to find that climb that you did.
Okay, so I'll talk about the climb. I was on a road ride, me and my wife, and a buddy of mine, Steve, in the area of Eden, Utah.
I think I saw pictures.
Which is
Tour of Eden in Huntsville.
Yeah, which is Huntsville.
Did you know that I grew up in Huntsville, but different Huntsville?
In Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama.
Do they have a 24-mile climb in Huntsville, Alabama?
They have a pretty good little climb because you've got the Appalachian Mountains kind of
Oh,
like
you do?
finish
Yeah,
there.
in Huntsville. Okay.
So there's some climbing. I don't know. I haven't biked. I don't know if I've biked much in Huntsville ever.
Yeah.
So I got to go back and do that.
So Huntsville Eden is it's in the valley right near Ogden, Utah.
Okay.
I've got a buddy who lives there, Steve Waldrop.
He's like a politician, isn't he?
He is a state legislature.
There you go.
Member in the state of Utah. We went to college together, so I've known him since he was young and dumb. So it's fantastic.
Oh, he is tall.
Yeah, he's 6'9", I think.
Oh my
6'9"?
God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Holy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at pictures that you are dwarfed by this man.
So whenever I take a picture with him, I actually squat down so it looks even more ridiculous.
That's such a good idea.
What bike frame does he ride? Like a
I
78?
don't know.
What is he?
It's
like?
stupid. He's so tall. Anyway, Huntsville Eden is always a part of the Tour of Utah every year.
Yeah.
And they have a couple of great rides. I was out riding with Steve and my wife. We were planning to do like 30 miles. Steve had a event he had to get to for his campaign, so he bailed early. My wife and I started heading up this canyon, and I says, Brandy, I'm just going to go kind of hard to the top of this climb, and you can turn around when you want. I did not know that the climb was 23 miles long.
Good God, when does this end?
I kept coming around the corner going, I can't see mountains beyond this. It's got to be ending right here. And I'd get around the corner. Nope. So I'd go another mile and come around another corner. Oh, nope, that's not the end of the climb. Go around the corner. Nope. Wow. And it went for 23 miles. It was like 4,000 feet of climbing.
Jeez. So you guys went to the oldest bar in Utah?
The oldest bar in Utah, the Shooting Star.
You seem like a guy that'd probably find every bar in Utah.
Yeah.
You look like a guy like somebody would find in a bar in Utah and have to take home.
It's in the town of Huntsville. It's still the original building. It was there in like 1870 something. The ceiling is covered with dollar bills.
Yeah, this looks
that have
crazy.
been stapled to the
picture,
ceiling. And people sign the dollar bills and you staple it to the ceiling. And so it's. Well, all we did was walk in and take pictures and walk out.
If they ever get into financial trouble, do you think they're just going to unstaple all the dollar bills up there?
It's like an institution in Huntsville, which is
Gotcha.
98% Mormon, so I don't know why there's a...
I don't think they're going to financially struggle at any point.
The bar gets tons of business.
Wait a minute. Yeah, how does that work out?
Everybody goes alone. It's okay to drink alone, but if you're with a buddy, you can't drink if you're Mormon. Never mind. That's an inside joke.
Okay.
So
I'm like looking at you all confused. I'm like, wait, what?
I was going to 100% believe that when he was like, oh, okay.
Okay. So anyway, I did this huge climb. I got in huge trouble because it took me way long. I was gone way longer than I was supposed to.
Yeah.
Was Brandon going to kill you?
Yeah. Not only that, I took one bottle of water with me.
Yeah.
I had no food.
No, that's smart.
Because I was only planning on like 30 miles, and then I started up this climb, and I'm like, well, I'll just
start
go
the
to
bonk and
top.
just turn around and go downhill, right?
Yeah, right. And
I've
I
got
never really did. I actually felt pretty good. So
I got like 2 sips left in this bottle. Should be good.
I kept thinking, I'll find somewhere with water. Nope. That's backcountry Utah. There's nobody out there with water.
There's one bar.
Yeah.
Clearly there's one.
Well, that was at the bottom. That was in Huntsville.
There you go. That's the last water stop.
So anyway, that was a great road ride. I had a good time. Which other ride do you want to hear about?
You got a Utah.
Your favorite ride?
Oh my gosh, there was so many.
You got to pick one.
You
went Salt Flats. You rode on the Salt Flats.
I did.
Did you go like super fast? Did you break any land speed records?
I did not.
Why not?
Because we were like traveling and we just stopped at the Bonneville Salt Flats because we were going through southern Oregon, northern Nevada on our way back. Came back a different way, and it's past the Bonneville Salt Flats, and I thought I got to go check out the Speedway. Where they do all the break the land speed records.
How smooth is that? Or is it something you feel a little sketchy on?
No, it is butter flat smooth. Where the actual racetrack is, it is butter smooth.
How wide is
How did they keep it that way?
How long can you just ride out there?
Zamboni out there?
Like 40 miles?
40 miles.
I don't know how long it is. So
why isn't there a bike race out there? That'd be awesome.
Because the salt eats your bike.
Oh, God, okay.
So there's the Bonneville Salt Flats and there's the Bonneville Speedway. The Bonneville Salt Flats, I can't even speak.
Salt Flats.
The Bonneville Salt Flats has all these crusted things.
Yeah.
I posted some pictures about that. And that spot is really cool, but not good for riding. Where the Speedway is, it's like concrete, hard, smooth.
So again, how do they keep it that way?
I don't think it just stays that way. I don't know.
There's not the Bonneville Zamboni out there?
I don't think there's a Zamboni.
Huh.
I'm not sure.
So why didn't you get Brandy in the Sprinter? You get on your bike and just have her floor it. You get behind and just draft that thing and see how fast you can
Sounds
go.
like a horrible idea.
No, that's fantastic.
Do you dislike Lance? You want to see him get hurt?
That. I don't know. It was.
He's got a lot of practice. I got faith in him.
There were tense moments in there when we were at the Salt Flats, so we didn't stay long.
Oh.
Ruh-roh.
Yeah, because I really wanted to be there, and
Brandy was done.
Brandy was done. So we didn't.
It doesn't seem like there's much to see here. It seems very flat.
Yeah, it's
like the definition of flat.
Yeah, completely flat.
Is there any grade going either way?
So that was a different place called Antelope Island. Antelope Island is a landlocked island in the middle of the Great Salt Lake.
So real quick, Diesel Brothers?
Yeah, Diesel Brothers.
Don't they have some like giant van that has got monster truck? Not van, it's a school bus with like monster truck tires that they have like
that they
built
go
for
out
somebody
there?
out there. They built it for somebody that takes it out there and does tours, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, I have no idea.
But I'm not sure if it's out there right now. I just remember watching an episode of that with my son, and
they went out to Antelope Island.
Yeah, they're out cruising around like giving people tours and stuff. It's like it's a school bus with monster truck tires on it.
Oh, that's awesome. So Antelope Island's a cool spot. It's this island in the middle of the Great Salt Lake. It's landlocked. It's like a 7-mile causeway that was built that goes across the lake to get out to it. So people ride their road bikes out there all the time. Actually, the tour of Utah last year, 2 years ago, they had a stage that started out there and came back.
Interesting.
Across the causeway. But there are great mountain bike trails out there. So I'm with my buddy Jason Woodland. He's like, have you ever ridden mountain bikes out at Antelope Island? I'm like, no. And he's like, okay, that's what we're doing. So we go out there. People don't usually ride during the summer because the bugs are thick. We were not prepared for that. I got bit by maybe 50 mosquitoes during this ride. And for some reason, the mosquitoes liked my hindquarters.
Through the kit?
Through the kit.
It's not just the mosquitoes that like your hindquarters.
Oh, those deep baby blue eyes.
Wait, so you're telling me they got on top of your britches and they went through them?
Correct.
That's like 2 layers because if the kits that we use have like a double layer in the butt.
That's right, folks. You heard the word britches.
Britches.
Yeah.
Britches.
Well, because that's like amazing. I mean, they were actually able to get through them.
When I got out of the van and I started to get attacked, I sprayed my legs and arms and face with bug spray. I didn't spray my butt. It was covered by Lycra, so I didn't think about that. My butt got eaten alive. It got eaten alive.
Well, I wonder also if you're biking and you're moving fast, they don't want to be on your front because there's too much wind. So they're like, look at this nice spot right back
Correct.
here.
They
Hide
just
from
like
the wind.
They drafted
nice juicy butt cheeks.
right on the butt cheeks. Right. I didn't even realize it until like 2 days later. I'm taking a shower in my buddy's house, and I turn around and look in the mirror, and it looks like I got chicken pox on my butt.
We'll post pictures.
I got bit so many times. I'm like,
follow the Instagram, follow the Dial Podcast Instagram channel. We'll post pictures.
I'm just doing too much.
Dial Podcast After Dark. It's this mosquito-ridden.
That is coming.
The cool part about Antelope Island is there are wild bison on the island. There's buffalo on the island. Because they introduced like a dozen buffalo out there like 100 years ago to try to help
bring
them back.
Yep.
And they're now there's a couple hundred buffalo that just stay on the island.
That's cool.
They're wild. They roam around. Whatever. We ran across them. We were climbing a trail, and there was 30 of them in front of us, and
scary?
They all just ran away from us.
Okay.
We were on bikes. They saw us coming, and they just moved away from us. So.
They're huge.
They're like huge. 900 pounds or something.
And they can run like what 40 miles an hour or something crazy like that.
It's ridiculous.
They would for sure chase you down if they wanted, right?
Yeah, if they wanted. So you have to like keep your distance. I did get some pictures, and the pictures I got were from the safety of my van, not out on my bike because I didn't want to upset them. And anyway,
no.
So the mountain bike riding out there was phenomenal. I just ripped there was a downhill gravel descent that I averaged like 38 miles an hour on my mountain bike because it was just ripping fast. Oh my gosh, had a great time.
How did you like the Cush cores out there?
I did a whole lot of very difficult downhill mountain biking over the last week. Never had a single issue with the Cush cores. Matter of fact, I was in Bend yesterday. I'm not even, anyway.
I hate you so much.
I was in Bend yesterday and did like a 20-mile descent from up near Bachelor back into Bend on my mountain bike on some trails. And all the downhill sections, I went 1.5 to 2 minutes faster.
Oh, wow.
Because I was on the Cush cores. I wasn't as worried about pinch flats. I ran lower tire pressure. Oh, my gosh. The Cush cores were like, just made me more confident.
I'm looking forward to it. I ordered some, and we've got some coming into the lab, and I'm going to probably have to slap those in my gravel bike and possibly the mountain bike as well.
Wow.
For people who don't know, the Cush cores are inserts that go inside your tubeless tires to help prevent pinch flats and allow you to run lower pressure so that you have a better, smoother, faster ride.
Cool.
Yeah. They are difficult to install. But
so they cost more than marshmallows. We established that.
We did establish that. They're
that's what I've been using.
But basically the same thing.
Basically the same thing. Yeah.
So that was that ride. There's too much. Okay, 2 more rides I want to talk about. We went to this place called the Alvord Desert, which is near the Steens Mountain Wilderness in southeastern Oregon. So again, out in the middle of nowhere. There is a 20-mile by 7-mile dry lake bed.
Okay, yeah, I saw pictures. Yep.
Yeah, that's called the Alvord Desert. It's not salt, it's dirt. It is dead flat and rock solid, so people rip around there as well. So my wife and I, we drove there. I just stopped the van out in the middle of the desert, and we just rode our bikes, our gravel bikes, around the desert. And it was like there were 25-mile-an-hour winds, so going upwind was extremely difficult. Going downwind was a blast. But that was a very cool spot to kind of camp and hang out for the day and the night and to just ride bikes. People are out there riding motorcycles, and they're doing cookies, and it was
cookies
crazy.
or donuts?
Donuts,
Okay.
whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You went like this with
Cookies
your
on
hand.
their
And I was like,
motorbike.
I didn't
Doing
even
some
think about
pastries
it.
out there?
They're doing pastries. They're doing donuts.
All kinds
They're
of
doing
stuff.
croissants out there.
A couple bagels. Yep.
So that was a very cool spot. One that I picked that up from a buddy I follow on Strava. He'd ridden there like a week before, and so I thought, oh, that's on the way. I'm going to go check that out.
Yeah,
and
it's worth it.
We loved it. It was very cool.
Which spot are you going back to? All of them?
Maybe, but to be continued. The last ride I want to talk about is we were in Burns, Oregon, which is in Harney County. I think that's how you say it. Burns is like 2 hours from Bend. It's 2 hours east of Bend.
Middle of nowhere.
Middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Tiny little town. My wife had a Zoom meeting, like a 2-hour Zoom meeting she had to do. So we had to bust it from the desert to Burns so that we had good enough signal. And she got on the Zoom meeting, and I said, I'm just going to go ride. I went on a ride with GPS, found a circular route that was gravel-based, and realized it was the race course for a race that was called the Skull Creek Gravel something, Skull Creek 120, I think it was called.
Okay.
Regardless, they've done the race the last couple years.
120 miler. This must have been a long Zoom call your wife was on.
I only did the 30-mile section. There's a 30-mile loop I did out there on gravel roads. It was phenomenal. The roads were just amazing. The clouds were great. The weather was great. There was a little bit of wind. Oh my gosh. I rode for like 2.5 hours with a giant smile on my face the whole way. So it was.
And you rode this morning?
I rode this morning. I'm back on the training plan, doing some interval sets.
So like
because
365 days left.
Well, there's
it's coming down to
your
it.
training plan.
There's a potential for some races coming up for me, and so
The weather's good here now.
Yeah.
So it's good that you're back on time.
Yeah. So
350 days left.
Yeah.
It's time to really hone in that training to race specific intervals.
I actually did. I did 7 by 12 minute sweet spot. 7 by 12 minute sweet spot intervals this morning.
That sounds awful.
Yeah.
I was
7
listening
by
to the Trainer
12.
Road podcast.
It's like an hour
online.
and a half at sweet spot.
Yeah.
Oh, God, it's awful.
It felt great this morning. I am feeling great.
You need to start thinking about like your recovery days in between
Shut
your
up.
interval days.
I had the downhill mountain bike ride yesterday. That was my recovery ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kept it easy.
Well, it's downhill. I mean, there was
many
only
watts did you
1,000
push?
feet of climbing.
I bet you if you look at peak wattage from yesterday's ride.
450
I
watts.
rode a bike without power meter, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, Strava will calculate it anyway. Estimated.
All right, that's enough of me. It was too much.
Good
I got
times.
more. Wait, I got one more right. No, I'm just kidding.
You got stories for days.
I got so many stories.
Good.
Jake.
How do I follow that?
I'm sorry.
Swift.
I rode my bike. Thanks. We did a little team ride again. It's getting very, very close to being done for the year for us being able to do that just because we don't have enough light.
Yep.
So we might be able to squeeze one more in, but you're kind of hitting that threshold where people just can't get there in time. But we were still able to get out there and do it this past week, and we went out and had a blast. We had a decent little group show up, and everybody did some work, and everybody had fun, and yeah. Doing it again, hopefully this week.
Love it.
Those are Wednesdays?
We normally do them on Wednesdays, but this past Wednesday it was pretty rainy here, so we moved it up to Tuesday. And
Tuesday night World Championships.
Exactly, and we started at about 5:30, and we got back, and there was just enough light left where everybody was good. And I told people to bring a light just in case, and people did turn them on when we were coming back because it was starting to get a little bit darker up. But
I need to buy a light. What do you guys suggest? The Garmin one?
I love the Garmin one.
Yeah, I think it's pretty good.
It connects to your head unit, a Garmin head unit, and so there's a setting on it where it gets brighter the faster you go, and as you if you come to a stoplight, it dims enough to help preserve battery.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. Smart
light.
Yeah. And then rode on Zwift for the rest of the week, and then Saturday, I'm going to go ride my gravel bike. And I was one of those days where I just didn't know when I was going to be able to go out and ride, so I just said we're going to go ride the gravel bike because I'm not going to be on the road with by myself because I usually like to try and ride with somebody. That's kind of that promise I made to my wife. So I'm like, all right, I'll just go ride on the gravel bike. Jumped out, got on the road. Rode down to the west end of the Heritage Trail, and I looked over, and I'm like, oh, there's some cyclists. And then I see a dial kit, and I'm like, wait a second. It was Brian Wise and Sonia Ebert, and then Sean and Danny Stiles were there, too. So I'm like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, oh, yeah, we're just getting ready to go for a gravel ride. I'm like, that's cool. Where you guys going? They were doing the exact same ride I was doing. I'm like, do you guys mind if I tag along? So it was kind of nice.
That's cool. You had some people to ride with.
Yeah, it was fun. So we went out and just rode all over the place, and that was fun. And then on Sunday, Sean Martin put together this beautiful ride up in the Woodland Yakult area. It's a big giant loop. There's some roads that I've done before. As a matter of fact, there were some roads that I did with you not too long ago, maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, just going the other direction.
Amboy, Yakult.
Amboy.
Because that's kind of like the
Woodland.
part of the rack route.
There's
like
there's pieces of it.
Peels off. That's so cool because that's a beautiful part of the rack route.
That ride is freaking awesome.
Did you drive up there and start?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just started at Horseshoe Lake.
Up to Horseshoe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
In Woodland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what was nice about that for somebody like me, Mr. Rollier over here, is there's no long sustained climbs.
Yeah.
Like all the climbs are like, I think the longest climb was maybe like 2 minutes or something like that, 3 minutes.
They're punchy up there.
There's a couple punchy, so it's a really good place to go work on like some interval work.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was almost 55 miles, and we finished it in about 3 hours. It was myself, Sean, and Ian. And I kind of just went out there and I tried to sit on the front as long as I could. I just wanted to drain the batteries, if you will, and finished the 3 hour ride. And I felt like it could have gone for another hour.
Wow.
But after 3 hours,
That's
my
good.
normalized power was 305. So it was pretty good.
Similar to mine.
Yes.
So
mine was 35.
minus 205 from that, and you're right at Matt's starting point.
Right there.
So legs are feeling good. The shoulders still kind of bother me a little bit on some of the climbs, but I think that's just that the cartilage in there that needs to be molded. Evan and I are working on that.
Yeah.
Evan's going to make everything better, right, Evan? Right?
Doing my best. Doing my best.
So
no, Jake just put more power through the bike now. That shoulder's having to deal with more and more and more power, especially on a punchy climb like that too. That's good though. Yeah.
It was fun. We were all pretty done at the end of that, and got home and almost felt like I'd go for another ride, but instead did like yard work and all that other stuff. So, but yeah, that was a week. It was another fun one. We're going to have an absolutely beautiful week this week. It's going to be like high 70s, low 80s, sunny. The time is starting to be fleeting from us. So I'm hoping that I can maybe sneak out of the lab a little bit this week. Maybe I can change the hours from like
blow off work today. Let's go.
Just tell people the bikes can wait.
We'll start like 2 hours earlier and finish 2 hours earlier. So, maybe. Anyway, that was my week, and it was a fun one. How about some Leadout news? Hold on a second here. Hey, Champ.
Oh, Champ?
Champ.
Is he here?
Come here, Champ.
Champ Bailey right here in the house.
In studio. Oh, yeah.
Jake has a new fun board over here now.
That's right.
It's going to be.
We should talk about the new Rode podcast, whatever.
Roadcaster Pro.
Roadcaster Pro.
Still have to dial it in. If this sounds a little funny to you guys, it's probably why, but it's got so many cool little features to it. I can't wait to play with it, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Where's the laugh track for all my fantastic jokes?
Oh, that was a great joke, Lance. That was good.
Oh, man.
Lance.
Yes!
Crowd loves it.
This guy.
In studio audience loved that one.
Okay, so Leadout
all right,
news.
we're going to go. We're done. See ya.
Okay, thanks for playing.
I like our intro and outro music. I've always liked it.
Yep, it's good stuff.
Stick with it. All right, what you got?
Okay,
Champ?
first thing, there was a mountain bike race in Bend, Oregon. The Oregon 24-hour.
Was that 12 and a 24?
There was a 12 and a 24-hour.
Yeah.
Brandon and I actually busted back to Bend, and we went by the race to see some of our teammates who were racing, which was great. The whole Westerfield clan was out there racing, and Eric Taft was also racing. And Eric actually took fourth in his age division, so good
job,
for him.
Eric.
He did it was an 11-mile loop. And you just did as many loops as you could in 12 hours. And I think he managed 7 loops for like 76 miles, I think is what he did.
I know his goal was 100 miles. He thought that was a little bit out of reach, but that's pretty stinking close.
It was cold. It was like It was like 38, 40 degrees up there because this was near Mount Bachelor in Bend. So that was great. I don't know how the Westerfields did, actually, but I did see that whole clan out there. So that was fun to go by that race and see what was happening. But the big news this week were the UCI World Championships
in Imola.
In Imola, Italy. It was supposed to be in Switzerland, but Switzerland was closed.
They like to stay neutral on most things, so they decide to stay neutral and not do anything.
They flip the sign to close. Yep.
Yeah, and so they moved the race to Imola, Italy, where there is a Formula One racetrack, I believe. And so there was a men's time trial, women's road race, men's road race.
And
I
they
believe.
cut all the juniors and U23 races, which would usually be there.
Yeah,
which was a shame, but that's okay.
They only did the pro races.
They only did the seniors, yeah.
So, men's time trial, quite stinking amazing. It was won by Filippo Ganna, who averaged almost 33 miles an hour.
He has the most aero position since Chris Boardman, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Anybody look at him riding that? That dude's back is like his top tube. It's amazing. He is so tucked in, and his quads are massive. I mean, the guy's just like. You look at him and you're like, I bet he goes quick in a time trial, and he does.
Guess who got second?
Wout
Van Aert got up there and
That's
took second.
Amazing.
Freaking amazing.
Wout was disappointed though.
Yeah,
he was very disappointed.
He was hoping to win. He lost by 26 seconds.
Yeah,
he gave credit where credit was due, but he was disappointed because he wanted that. He wanted that bad.
And Ghana has been that was Ghana's thing. Like he was going just for the time trial. So to think with all the things Wout has been doing to just jump into that time trial and only be 20-some seconds off Ghana is incredible.
Pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Third was Stefan King, the Swiss rider.
Yeah.
Any questions about where anybody else finished?
Rohan Dennis.
G had a good race.
G was fourth.
Had a great race, yeah.
Geraint Thomas was fourth.
That's
Rohan Dennis.
interesting considering the fact that he didn't ride the Tour. Being fourth.
And this is incredible.
He's
the
in
fact
decent
that
shape.
he beat Rohan is a big deal in my opinion because that's an impressive ride from G.
Defending champion Rohan took fifth.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
kind
of interesting. The women's time trial.
That was a bummer.
There was some serious excitement and not in a good way in that race.
There's two things to talk about. It was won by Anna. I don't have her name pulled up.
It's Dutch names. It's very, very hard to pronounce.
It's the Dutch lady that just rips.
Yeah.
Anyway, Anna, I sound like an idiot. Look it up, Evan, while I'm talking.
Anna?
No, the Dutch pronunciations of the names I was butchering too when I was trying to explain to Cassie.
So she crushed the field. We were really hoping that Chloe Dygert, the American from Boise, Idaho, was going to repeat as world champion. She was winning
at the time.
Handedly, wasn't she?
Handedly winning, was coming around a corner, lost control just a little bit, and hit a guardrail, flipped over the guardrail, landed in the bushes down beneath, and she ripped her quad open. A la Wout Van Aert, kind of like Wout.
God, that wasn't worse. If you've seen also amazing bike handling by her in the sense that I think it almost looks like she hit car oil or something because her front wheel starts to go and then it flats. She still somehow has control of the bike as the front wheel's going nuts.
Right.
And then she can't make the turn because she's going like 30 miles an hour into this turn. And just bails perfectly. I mean, she rolls along the guardrail as best she can, but
I wonder if her front wheel went flat.
I think she slipped.
She hit something.
I think she hit something, slipped, then went flat. Because when they go into slow motion, you can tell she's now sliding carbon when she was trying to control the bike.
She said that she hit the guardrail, flipped over. Her first thought was, can I still get my bike and win the race?
Yeah.
And then she looked down and saw that her quad was filleted open, and she's like,
she's tough as nails.
Yeah.
But the winner was Anna
van der Breggen.
Van der Breggen.
Yep.
Van der
I just
Breggen.
found it.
So it's like Jake's name. It's just like Vander, and then just fill in some words after. Just put a bunch of vowels after.
Too many vowels. Yep.
A lot of Dutch vowels.
So kind of exciting there. The road race, the women's road race. Guess who it was won by?
I'll give you one guess.
Anna van der Breggen.
There you go.
She won double world champion. She
who basically had to break away from her Dutch teammate, who was kind of chasing her down. Yeah. If you saw the race, it basically became which Dutch rider's gonna beat who. So
pretty amazing. The men's road race was actually amazing to watch. I got home late last night and I ended up watching it for hours. It was like 280 kilometers.
160 miles.
160-mile race.
17,000 feet of climbing.
Out of that 280 kilometers, the first 265 kilometers were terribly boring. The last 15 kilometers was amazing if you watched any of it. Did you watch it, Jake?
I haven't had a chance to watch it. How many guys lined up in that race?
It was huge. I don't know. It must have been
ballpark idea.
150.
Okay, so about the same, close to the same size of like the number of guys that go into a tour.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
It was big. Lots of people there, but the Dutch team, pardon me, the Belgian team was working very hard for Wout. Including Greg van Avermaet and all these people. Tadej Pogačar was working very hard for Roglic, hoping that Roglic could do well. With about 40K to go.
That was really the first big move was Pogačar going. And this climb, the profile was ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's
went
ending
like 14%.
Yeah, well, actually, I think it ends on like a 20% pitch. There's something ridiculous at the end. Yeah.
So Pogačar with like 40K to go goes, trying to soften up the field. He got reeled back. He was away for
a while,
but he got reeled back, hoping that it would soften up the field so that Roglic could go. But with about 15K to go, right at the top of this very difficult climb, Julian Alaphilippe just bolted. He launched at the very top, right before the top of the climb. He just launched himself.
He threw it into the big ring, actually. So mid-climb, they did the profile. When it was 14%, he threw it into the big ring and accelerated.
Yeah.
Up the very last pitch was 20%.
Jeez.
It was an insane
he's a
attack.
gutsy rider.
It was an insane attack to watch.
Can we just all admit, even if he's not your favorite, if he's not your favorite rider, that's fine. But he rides hard.
Oh yeah. If you like bike racing, you should like
because
him.
He can make it work a lot of times.
Yeah.
So he broke away with 15K to go, and
about 10K to go.
Yeah, and he held everybody off, and he ended up winning by 20 seconds.
That's crazy.
Which was amazing.
Yeah.
Now there was a chasing group of 6 that had Wout van Aert, Hershey, Roglic, Vogelsong,
and Kwiatkowski.
Were they working together well?
Initially,
that's
they were working fairly well to try to bring Alaphilippe back in, but the group quit working together because Wout was in the group and he could easily outsprint every person there. And so with about 1K to go, when they realized they're not pulling back Alaphilippe, they all gave up and they started playing games.
It's weird that with 10K to go, they couldn't catch him.
Well, Alaphilippe...
To me, that is. So Alaphilippe was on something special that day. Because that was strange. Yeah, but also I think he's just that good at timing the right moves. That guy has down to a science when he can put out the best match. And his matches burn brighter than basically anybody.
That breakaway was...
I'd put him over anybody for watts per kilo 5 minute.
It's
I don't think anybody's got
amazing breakaway at the top of the climb there. Weird still that he couldn't, because even no matter what, he max put in 30 seconds to that group, maybe at the top there.
20 I think is as far as he got away.
20 seconds.
Give him a nice little 20-30 second. That group of 6 should still be able to pull him in.
Because you look at that group.
Hershey,
Wout,
Van Aert. That group should be able to pull.
Kwiatkowski's a former world champ.
So you know what that means?
Vogelsong was strong.
They probably weren't working together as much as we thought because Wout was in the group.
Yeah.
And they're like, all we're going to do is pull.
It's also
Wout
150 miles into this race.
Yeah,
so the most controversial thing from this race was that the Belgian cycling fans are roasting Roglic. They may never forgive Primoz for that. Now, here's my honest opinion. I think if you're watching that at the end, Primoz was tired. That was not him being like, wow, I'm not helping you, I'm playing games right now.
So people may not understand what's going on here. So what's going on? Roglic is riding for Slovenia.
Yes.
Wout is riding for Belgium.
Right.
They're
Yes.
on different teams for the World Championships, but they both ride their
Jumbo-Visma.
For Jumbo-Visma.
Only days ago.
And Wout just sacrificed a lot of his tour capabilities.
Everything.
And so they get in this final 6-person breakaway, and Roglic did not help Wout pull back
Roglic was sitting at the back of the group. He was letting everybody cycle in front of him the entire time. I think he was shattered.
He was
shattered. Yeah, So Wout, after the race, defended Primoz and said that was not him playing games. He's like, watch him at the end of that sprint. Roglic's quote-unquote sprint was him soft pedaling towards it. Like the sprint went and he was like, goodbye. Like it was gone.
Well, and Roglic said that he had to close a gap after every corner. He was like barely hanging on.
He did not have
the
the legs for it.
So he just could not hang on to the group.
But the Belgian cycling fans are going nuts on him.
Well, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's ridiculous.
Oh, it's real easy to sit from the couch and be like, why are you not pulling at 154 miles?
The thing that blew me away watching the sprint for second place out of this group of 6 is this whole group of 6, they're 400 meters from the finish line, and Wout is on the front. Everybody is behind him. They're all looking at each other, waiting for somebody to go. Wout is in the worst position possible because he's on the front. And finally, Wout just says, Screw it. And just stood up and went and just rode away from everybody.
I love that.
He didn't slipstream anybody.
Hershey couldn't even get onto his wheel.
Hershey tried so hard to get on his wheel, and Wout just like powered away from all of them. It was like that moment when I thought I had Jake set up perfectly, and he just rode away from me. It was just amazing that Wout just like, without any draft, any help, just outdid everybody. So the potential for Wout to win some more world championships is, or one-day races or monuments. Yep. Oh my gosh,
he's winning a couple classics this year.
Love that guy.
He's 26.
I think he's 26.
Yeah, he's got a lot of races ahead of him.
More importantly, though, Mike Woods was 12th. Great performance out of that Canadian.
Wow.
Tell you what. No, seriously. That guy's going to win some big races this year. He's winning the Vuelta. I'm not even sure if he's racing the Vuelta, but I'm picking him to win it.
Yeah.
Champ Bailey out.
Thanks, Champ.
What about triathlon news?
I don't know what
Sam Long rides
means.
bikes fast.
Sam Long.
We can talk about bikes for a second with that. Well, okay, so just for our cycling friends, there was a man who in the middle of a triathlon in Mexico in 92-degree heat basically rode 52-minute 40K time trial. That is in the middle of a 56-mile bike ride followed by a half marathon.
He did it how fast?
52 minutes for 40K. That's 29 miles an hour in the middle of that.
That's impressive.
This man could probably give himself 1 year and jump onto just about, I would say, 50% of World Tour teams and be an effective rollier for him.
He's big.
He's a big, strong kid. Yeah. He's lost a lot of weight over the last couple of years, but yeah, he's a big, strong kid.
Cool.
God.
Okay, thanks.
You know?
And his running is coming along.
It is. It is.
He played football or something?
He was a football player back in the day. Yeah. Yeah, he was.
And that's triathlon.
And that's
exactly.
triathlon talk.
You know, they make me come to this thing every Monday and then just criticize whatever I bring to the table here. I'm going to be MIA the next few, I think.
Oh, thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
Very
Evan.
insightful.
Oh, you're welcome. Go ahead. What are we going to talk about bikes-wise?
Hey, how about a Patreon update?
Oh, yeah.
We have a new Patreon as of this morning.
Oh, wow.
Got a little notification from the old Patreon app that says we've got a new Patreon supporter. Tintin Quarantino, a little play on Quentin Tarantino there. Not sure that is.
It's a good play on
Tintin Quarantino. That's funny though.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that need a laugh track?
Yeah. Tintin Quarantino.
All right, I'll stop pushing those buttons. Hey, but anyway, whoever you are, Tintin Quarantino, thank you. That is very nice of you.
That's
and
awesome.
I bet you
We do appreciate
Tintin
it.
went to dialpodcast.com and pulled up the old Dial Podcast webpage that has the little Patreon link on there and clicked on that button and took him over to Patreon and signed himself up or herself up or themself up.
Whoever they are.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much. We will do a drawing next week.
Oh, what are we going to do?
Well, you're going to have to tune in next week to hear what that prize is going to be.
Win some stickers too, whatever it is.
Matt LeGrand has some stickers he wants to toss in, and I've got some new shiny, glimmery, hologrammy dialed stickers that we can put in there.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got podcast stickers and some other stuff. So I've got some new goodies that have been coming into the lab here, so I want to have something that's kind of cool. Maybe something that you can slide on your feet, or maybe something you can put on your head. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But you got to come. You got to listen next week, and you'll figure out what that is, because we'll do a drawing for it, and you'll get that thing if you're the person that's in there and wins that drawing. So
love it.
Cool. Moving on to our topic for today: bike handling.
This is where triathlon takeover.
Yeah,
the triathletes.
When you're talking about people who struggle with this,
you're going to educate the world on bike handling.
We could discuss Lance descending at almost 40 miles an hour
with a broken front wheel.
With a broken front wheel, yes. Things to not attempt bike handling wise.
Let's jump into some bike handling. Let's first talk about what is it. What is bike handling?
Not crashing your bike.
Yeah, it's basically how you can handle your bike without crashing. For confidence on the road, for safety on the road, for, managing people in large groups on the road.
Yep.
Handling traffic in all kinds of different scenarios, whatever the road throws at you. Yeah. Doesn't have to be road, right? Because it can be gravel or trail.
Proper bike handling can also increase your speed exponentially.
Yes. Exactly.
Yep.
Keeps the rubber side down more frequently, too, if you know how to throw yourself around a bike a little bit. So let's just kind of dive into it. I want to talk to you guys and kind of figure out what you think about, how to develop it, how to improve it, and why it's important. So, Lance, what do you got on bike handling here for us?
Well, this is something I've actually worked on a lot in the last couple years, mostly because...
you were a triathlete.
Because I was a triathlete. Let me talk about that first.
Sure.
I'll talk about triathlon first. Actually, Evan just stepped out to go to the bathroom. This is exactly when we should talk about triathlon.
There it is.
Evan stepped out. Time trial bikes do not handle well.
No.
Not one bit.
They are much more... People wonder why triathletes aren't good bike handlers, and most of the reason is if you're used to only riding a time trial bike, you just can't... They don't handle as well.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I deal with a lot of people on bikes in general, right? So a lot of people will come in and they'll see a TT bike and they're like, "Oh, that looks comfortable. I can rest my arms on it."
Right.
And it's got this like kind of flashy, cool, like aero sleek look to it. And you get to just kind of get in this position where you can just go ride fast and be comfortable.
They are fast. It is faster.
Newsflash: they are not comfortable.
Right.
I was riding TT bikes all the time, and I felt very comfortable on that bike before it broke on me. But
but you put
it's
in
different.
gobs and gobs and gobs of hours
on it. The fit was just dialed in perfectly, and I just think that it's one of those things where, if you had asked me like, all right, go do 100 mile or pick whatever bike you want to, I would have picked the TT bike. But I ride differently on a road bike. I ride much more punchy on a road bike. Yeah. Whereas the TT bike, Jake's been on there with me, where it's just like, give me that wide open road where there's no turns and you just hunker down and hammer. It's a very different type of riding, I think. Yeah. And so more recently, I've just been doing complete road stuff. And I just was thinking about this the other day on my ride. I was like, oh, I'm always punching. Sure. I always would be punching, 300, 400 watts on my road bike. I'd never do that on the TT bike. I would just sit down, 200 watts, and that's what I would ride constantly.
Right.
Just don't do that. On the road bike is more fun because it's more agile and you can kind of move it a lot better on the road. Mm-hmm. So I completely agree with your point, is that those bikes don't handle the same way. Even dodging potholes and other little things, it's just different on a TT bike. It's a lot harder.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why triathletes have that bad reputation for bike handling. I think that there's probably some truth into the fact that they just have bad handling of bike skills too.
Well, if you don't do a lot of riding on a road bike, you're on your road bike, not your time trial bike, you just don't get the handling experience.
Chance to experience. Yeah. The other thing obviously would be taking your bike off road. Right? You're going to learn different handling skills. I did a lot of cyclocross practices I raced once. I don't think I learned that much in the race, but all the cyclocross practices, you learn a ton, which is what they were there for. They're there to like learn handling skills and all this stuff. But in particular, like keeping your weight over the bike in certain positions, like you sometimes need to get your weight really far back if you're climbing up, and you can't. When you're on a road bike, you just think, stand up, push through this climb. You can't always do that on a cyclocross bike because you lose grip on the back wheel.
Correct.
Weight transfer is
the same thing on gravel bikes too. Oftentimes on climbs, you can't stand up to climb on a gravel climb. You have to keep some weight on that rear wheel, otherwise it spins out. Yeah.
So I think that stuff translates over to the road too, because even now when I'm climbing up something super steep, I'm like, let's make sure the back wheel has some grip to it, and you can move your weight around, and you just kind of have a feel for what you need to do.
Right.
So I think it translates over. And so your question was like, bike handling skills, where do you learn this stuff?
So a good place to look, and I think he's arguably probably one of the best bike handlers I've ever seen, would be Peter Sagan. He comes from a mountain bike cyclocross background a little bit, and I'm sure Wout's probably right in there with him in terms of bike handling skills.
Yep.
Look at the stuff that he avoids. Look at how he never gets tied up in crashes. And in the pro peloton, they crash all the time.
At Paris-Roubaix one year, somebody crashed right in front of Peter Sagan.
Yeah.
He bunny hopped over him.
Yep.
On cobbles.
On cobbles.
It was like right off on the cobble edge.
He bunny hopped over him and kept going.
So let's press pause on that. Keep that image in your brain, and then put right next to that Peter Sagan riding on his mountain bike as a kid, going out and jumping off of rocks and bunny hopping over logs and doing weird terrain and having to throw his body in different positions so that he can keep the rubber side down, so he can keep the bike moving forward, and so that he can, have fun and not crash. A lot of that comes from that off-road experience that he has,
right?
And that teaches you where to put your hands on the bike. That teaches you how much pressure to put on the handlebars. It teaches you where to have your butt in relation to the saddle. It teaches you like how high or low that you need to be. I mean, all of these things that you just innately learn while riding off-road translate over to the road.
And it's muscle memory by that point too, right? You grew up doing it, and then all of a sudden it's like there's a crash in front of you. You have no time to think.
Yeah.
It's just keep the bike up.
Yep. Correct.
So that's a good place to start. But let's just say that you're not into riding off road. That's not your thing. That's not your cup of tea. How would you guys recommend that somebody on a road bike start to develop those bike handling skills?
One of the things I would do first is actually look for YouTube videos on bike handling. I have learned a ton by looking up different videos on bike handling.
Look at stuff and then go out and practice?
Correct.
Okay. Because I know, you've seen, I don't know, I'll often see like drills and things like that where they'll like have cones and you kind of lean over and pick up things and all stuff that I haven't really ever practiced that much unless something was like there and I was trying to grab something. But like, how people will go and set up stuff in parking lots and practice bike handling skills? That's something I've never done, but I'm a triathlete, so.
Basic little things like riding on a line or doing figure eights or understanding the difference between steering and turning. I mean, like you're using your body weight and you're shifting your weight in general is going to help you turn. But, then there's times that you actually have to turn the handlebars too. So,
So that's the first thing that I would do. The second thing I would do as far as road riding is ride with a group. Ride with ride with people who are better bike handlers than you and watch them.
Yeah.
So you will definitely learn something out. If you're always just riding by yourself, this is a difficult thing to say during the pandemic because we're not really riding with big groups here in the Northwest. And so
I worry about my older brother because he rides by himself
all the time.
So
you just never learn from somebody else.
And he, has clip-on aero bars, and that's like, and he races, triathlon stuff. So it's like that's all he's going to do.
Right.
But if he ever comes out here, he's going to come ride with us with the podcast.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can steer him in the right direction. He won't listen, but he's not going to listen to his little brother.
No.
So that would be the second thing I would do is try to find other people to ride with and watch what they do and how they do it and don't feel funny about asking questions or how they're doing certain things. The third thing to do is to create a small course for yourself somewhere in a parking lot, around some school grounds when the school is not in session. like a local crit track,
parks
or something that don't have a lot of people in them, where you can practice taking corners. Where you come from the outside, you sweep to the apex and go back to the outside. What's the fastest way to take a corner? What's the safest way to take a corner? How you can move different things. Those types of things will help your bike handling tremendously.
I agree. Now, Evan has been doing fantastic work with a lot of the junior triathletes, and that's probably like, I don't know, that's probably like one of the best scenarios that you could be in, is
the
to
most
start
moldable group.
Exactly. You're going to impart your knowledge on those kids. Yeah. What have you been doing with them, and what kind of successes have you been seeing?
Well, so originally, and we've talked about this on this, is we've gone through some crashes with this group, and one of them very out of his control. You know, I mean, we talked about the way that Alex went down. They're just, as Jake knows better than anybody, there are some situations that when it comes to bike handling, or you just get into a bad situation that's hard to avoid. There are defensive riding techniques, though, that I know Jake has discussed in detail, and is probably one of the best. You know, Jake and Sean Martin, two of the best here to discuss that and talk about ways to predict bad situations. But when it comes just to group riding in general, I think a lot of it with kids at that age, it comes with confidence. So it's similar to, and Matt knows this, it's like getting that triathlete for the first time into a master's group swim, or getting them to join a swim team. It's about just doing it. The very first thing is just doing it. So at that age, you have to be able to formulate kids that trust each other. So if you have kids between the ages of like 14 and 18, they need to have friends that they trust to be with, because especially when you're talking about, you know, the amount of communication that goes on in a group ride, that we think, like, we don't need to say certain things anymore to each other.
Right.
You just kind of know after you've been a decade of riding in groups, you know.
That being said, like, when you ride with someone new that you don't know,
your communication becomes a lot more important.
What do you do?
Yeah.
Right?
So,
like, don't you act differently?
For example, the biggest thing that I know I've seen when you're talking about like echelon pace lining, which is, let's say you have a crosswind and you're lining out in two lines, and there's a stagger to it. We know you pull out in front for 20 seconds at absolute most, you pull back, and there's this cycle that goes with the wind, basically. Yep. So, you know, it depends on whether it's right to left or left to right is the wind pattern. Communicating that real time to the kids is important, so that they can realize, and the most important thing from this weekend was we get into a pace line, and right away there's gaps that form. The easiest way for them to learn bike handling wise that that's not good is that all of a sudden riding becomes a lot harder. So they get dropped off the back. Now, when we regroup, Dustin Shocken does a good job of communicating in pace lines because his voice is very loud and mine is not. But it's important to show them that, hey, for this to be easier for you, your wheel needs to be slightly off center. Now, you need to know which side the wind's coming from, so you know which side to get on. Organizing that in a group takes time with kids that age, but they trust each other, this group of guys especially. So they're able to kind of figure that out themselves, and they'll communicate and talk to each other because they're not nervous around each other. The most interesting thing to watch, though, is they still have that young guy's testosterone impulse, which is, I want to show these older cyclist guys, whether it's me, Sean, Dustin, and David who are riding with them, or who's ever riding with them that day, that I'm really strong. So their first instinct when they get to the front,
I have that problem still too.
You'll get there.
I'm going to blow this up. So they just get to the front and blow it up. Which, when we're talking about bike handling, I think bike handling is easy when you can get repetitions in over time. And if we keep on in these pace lines with guys blowing it up, you're not getting repetitions at right in a tight echelon.
Right.
You're basically getting repetitions at 500 watt efforts, which you can do on a trainer if you want to do. So yeah, I think with the kids, if you're, with a juniors team, you're like, how do these kids get more confident and comfortable on the bike? It just comes down to repetition at that age, and forcing them to back off sometimes from that instinct of like, I want to break away and blow this ride up. But that's why actually I liked the race simulation we did on Saturday, was because I was at least able to control the front at a pace where, sure, they can try and break away, but they're having to group ride because I'm gonna bring you back every single time. Yeah. So it's, you get 20 seconds on the wind, you got to fall back in that group, and now when you're tired, you got a bike handle, which is tough I mean, we all remember those first times when you're in a group and you're feeling really tired and the lights are starting to go out. That's when bike handling, I think, becomes instinctual. And if it's not instinctual at that point, that's kind of tough. So it's good practice when your heart rate's at 180, 185.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Interesting. Matt, you do a lot of riding on a TT bike. And you've got a little YouTube channel where you talk about a lot of triathlon. Do you deal with a lot of new triathletes asking you about how to get better handling?
Yeah. Well, so what was interesting is we used to have a group ride that we did, and we'll bring it back eventually. But it was this group ride that we did where it was like TT bikes, pace lining, out on Vancouver Lake, which is what we've been talking about, and very flat, very fast. Hammerfest, right? Because that's what we're there to do. And we would get new riders, and we would encourage new riders to come join us. But with that, there's, I would say that there's like written rules, but there are rules like if you're in the pace line, you really don't need to be down in your TT bars. Like you need to be able to react.
If you're behind somebody in the draft, the TT bars are a dangerous place to be if you don't have your hands near your brakes.
Unless you really trust everybody in that group.
Like a team time trial event.
Yeah, unless
different.
Which is really,
unless Team Sky bought your bicycles.
It's fairly
you're
safe.
riding on Pinarellos.
It's fairly safe to say it's like a rule not to do that. Have I broken the rule? Yes, because I've been trying to hang on to Jake's wheel. And
we've all been there.
And it's a lot easier in the aero talk than it is on the hood.
Really hurts. We were talking about lights out and trying to have bike handling skills. Been there. And but like for the most part, like 99.9% of the time, pretty much as a rule, you would never want to do that. Another thing is, having headphones in so you can't hear the group when they're, embarking knowledge on you about, whatever. That's generally a bad thing to do. And if you break some of these rules, the group's going to try to drop you or try to avoid you or you're not going to get invited back to the group.
Or you'll just get barked at, which I think,
which is
the best thing is when you're going to a group ride, understand. So I tell this story to anybody who has met him and he's going to be fine with me telling this story.
Yeah.
Dustin Shotgun will rub people the wrong way with how aggressive he is in a group. Yep. You sometimes need somebody like that. Now, I came from my original foray into riding was around military guys in Ohio. So my first group rides were a lot of military dudes, and there was no confusion as to what they were asking you to do.
Yeah,
it was they're asking you to do. If you're not going to do it, we're going to drop you, and we're going to drop you really hard, and you're going to get lost most likely.
Would you call it aggressive?
Before GPS.
Yeah, before GPS.
I did get dropped once on a ride where I was like, I have no idea where I am right now, and this is all my fault because I was that little jerk who kept on trying to break away. And they're like, okay, we're going to let him do that once,
and we'll go
and
left.
then they blew by. No, they just
they just went by you.
But the very first time I met Dustin was when Jake went to go use the restroom on a ride, which I didn't know that wasn't Jake breaking away. That's Jake going to go use the restroom. Yeah. And this is in February when nobody's in good shape. And I'm like, I'm going to dead sprint after Jake here in the middle of some residential area. So sprint after Jake. Dustin decides he's going to lock onto my wheel and berate me for blowing up the group ride, basically. And I think if people understand that it's just how you communicate when your heart rate's at 160, 170, and that sometimes just saying it firmly and not trying to be PC about it is okay. Like you just need to deliver messages. Yeah. Don't get offended.
It's hard when you're new not to be offended.
I know, but
it's okay.
Everybody at this table's been there before, and you just got to understand that like, hey, this group will like you one day. Just deal with the
I remember Bob Croucher.
ribbing early on.
Bob Croucher is probably one of the nicest people I've ever met. He it was the same thing. I was like, I got in my aero bars in the group in the line, and he was like, get out of your bars, yelling at me from like a couple people back. And I did. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're doing.
Right.
You're just like, I guess this is not
and
cool.
There you go. And you probably remembered that. You're
I remember
next time I need not do that.
Yeah. And now I'm the guy that will yell at someone.
Croucher.
I know. Yeah. See, it's good. Yeah. I think that's sometimes that like really firm, just like, do not do this. It's like, all right. I'm going to remember that now because I'm on a bicycle and we're going 25 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And then when you think about it, you're like, oh, yeah, that's dumb.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
okay, couple things here real quick. Let's talk about like just on the bike, things to think about, not necessarily jumping logs and rocks and all that fun stuff. Let's just talk about like just your basic body position on the bike. Where should your hands be? Where should your hips be? Where should you be on the saddle? Little things like that. Let's start with a road bike for starters, because those aren't going to have a dropper post.
Nope.
Those are going to be whatever. Let's just talk about like where should your hands be typically. Now you will see a lot of people that will kind of get down in that arrow position. They'll rest their forearms on the handlebars and let their hands dangle over the front.
Not when they're following people.
Not when they're following people.
Maybe when they're out front.
Yeah.
Sitting on the top tube.
Not. Yeah.
That's not a good position to be in, because it just takes one little bump in the road. Next thing you know, you're kissing the asphalt there,
slicing your quad on the guardrail.
Seriously.
But let's just talk about like what's best practices for just the standard rider. Like where should your hands be on the handlebars based on when you're riding, and let's just talk about positioning.
If I'm in a group, I generally don't ride in the drops.
Yeah.
I keep my hands on the hoods with my finger on the brake.
Correct. Always ready to brake.
Always ready to brake. And when you're riding in a group and you're behind people and there's people behind you, you do not want to be grabbing your brakes indiscriminately, because the guy behind you could run into you.
Yeah.
And so
that's a hard thing, because if you're used to riding by yourself, the instinct is like, I can brake whenever I want to, and you do. But if
you screw up the guy behind you,
you really have to learn that like you can't just grab those brakes anytime you want to if someone's behind you.
Right.
You have to be like, okay, I'm either going to bunny hop this situation or, like try and let people know like, hey, it's almost like verbal first and then react.
So the safest position for me to be able to react to something, especially in a group ride, is hands on the hoods, finger on the brake, and my butt planted firmly in the middle of the seat. Not back on the seat, not forward on the seat, but right in the middle of the seat.
Yeah.
So that's for me.
I like that.
Those are contact points.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about how firmly are you holding on to those bars?
I find that people grip the bars way harder than they need to.
Like you're trying to not break a Pringle.
Yeah, you don't need to have a death grip on there. So,
yeah,
I'm trying to strangle my bike.
I learned that quickly when you ride off road. When you ride gravel, quite often, like on a gravel descent, you'll hit a washboardy area or a place that looks smooth but is not smooth on the gravel bar. I have my hands hovering over the bars. I don't actually grip the bars really heavy, but I have my hands hovering so there's like one finger is touching, but the rest of my hands, that bar can like rattle around in there, and it's not shaking my whole body. It's just the bar is rattling around in here, but I'm sure enough that if something happens, I can grab the brakes and grab harder.
Folks, don't try that at home until you become very skilled on the mountain bike, gravel bike, or road bike.
Yeah, maybe that's an advanced move.
Not a bad idea. I mean, like really with gravel descents, I'm terrible at them. But I know part of the reason I was terrible at gravel descents because I was trying to ride them like I was on a road bike for the longest time.
Can't do that.
No. So my weight positioning for like a gravel descent was similar to where I would put my weight for a road descent, which I was also glaringly average at. So when you're below average at gravel descents and amazingly average at road descents, you kind of get to learn where your bike needs to be positioned.
Sorry, I hijacked the road bike fit.
That kind of goes in there as well. But I want to talk about like your hands. Like I think hands on the hoods is probably like your number one go-to spot, right? Being on the drops is good. You just don't have as much control of the bike. But you're definitely going to help your center of gravity get a little bit lower.
Yes.
So that for certain situations is a good thing.
That has to do with bike fit as well.
Yes.
And people's comfort in the drops.
Yeah.
So I don't have very big hands, and so if I'm in the drops, I can't grab my brake levers quickly and easy. And most of our brake levers have an adjustment where you can pull them back so they're easier to pull. Mm-hmm. They're closer to the handlebar, so they're easier to grab. But for me to make that easy for in the drops, I max out my brakes.
Bottom out the brakes.
I bottom out the brakes. They hit the bars. So I find, because I don't have big hands, that it's actually more dangerous for me to descend in the drops than than to descend in the hoods because I
You
don't
descend
have
on the hoods?
I quite often unless
Wow.
I'm alone, if I'm in
Yeah.
a group, if I'm following somebody,
Yeah.
I descend in the hoods, on the hoods. I'm bent over further to try to keep more arrow, but I descend in the hoods so that I have access to those breaks quickly.
God, you still smoke me on descents. Jeez. Whew. I'm always, like to me actually being in the drops is more comfortable, but I am able to get my fingers are able to always get to the
You got
brakes,
longer
so.
fingers, bigger hands than
Yeah,
me.
I mean I have small hands but long fingers, so
Yeah.
the fingers can get there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say that you're on the road bike and all of a sudden you come into some really bad road conditions that you didn't see, potholes or some debris in the road, and you know that you're going to have to adjust. What are you doing with your butt on the saddle?
Oh, butt comes right off the saddle immediately.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So you need to get that up, and that gives you a couple different options there too. Like a bunny hop, all of a sudden becomes like, all right, I can do that. If you just keep your butt on the saddle, that ain't gonna happen. You're not gonna be able to pull that up.
Yeah.
So you need to get that up, and then you're gonna need to kind of lighten your hands up almost on that front wheel. But you still need to keep a moderate grip on it, I think, just so that you can kind of let the wheel kind of do its thing, rolling over the debris or the whatever it is that you're about ready to hit.
Yeah.
Like if you're putting too much weight on those handlebars and you're holding on like a death grip on it, that you're going to lose control of the bike.
Yes.
So,
Case in point, my bad crash at training camp.
Yeah.
This last year. I was following a teammate. We've talked about this a lot. I was going 42 miles an hour, so we were going very fast. We were descending. I'm on teammate's wheel, but just to the outside of him, like 3 inches to the outside, and I had all my weight on the handlebars and on the seat, and I hit something in the road that pitched me forward immediately. That's why I crashed. If I had seen that coming, I could have avoided it or bunny hopped it.
Yep. Yeah.
I could have, even at that speed, I could have bunny hopped it and been fine. But because I didn't see it coming and I drilled it and I didn't have my butt off the seat, I just got pitched right over the handlebars.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Anything else that any of you guys want to add in on this?
So when we're talking about body positioning into cornering, I think is another, I know we're talking about hand positioning here now too, but if you're going into a corner, it's almost a joke too that like you're just not in the hoods. If you're going aggressively into a corner, you need to be in the drops because it drops that center weight. I know I see a lot of people corner well on the hoods, but I was always taught, especially with crit racing, you're in the drops every single time you hit a corner. That was almost like you almost got like berated for that in the group if you were like the guy on the hoods in the picture. I was like, you just get absolutely just trash in the like. There's
I corner on the hoods all the time,
but
I
you seem to be
grow up.
comfortable in that position because to me it's like if I'm on the hoods, I'm getting dropped out of that corner just because I'm also a taller frame, so I think for me it's probably more important to get low. Lance has a pretty low center of gravity. My center of gravity is somewhere around my chest, so it's like harder for me just to corner without getting low into the drops and actually dropping that center of gravity. But especially when we're talking about hand position, I actually put like almost 80% of my weight into my butt if I'm going into a corner, and the hands are like kind of lightly on the handlebars. I'm not like gripping and forcing my weight forward onto the front wheel.
So I don't put the pressure into my butt. I put the pressure into my outward foot.
In your outward foot. Yeah.
So that's where like the vast majority of my weight goes. And I guess I'm a little bit odd like Lance. I generally descend on the hoods. And I don't know if that's just from anatomical reasons from having, broken both of my shoulders and rods in my back and just the things of that nature.
It may have more to do with your thoracic mobility, actually.
It might be. I can ride in the drops. It's just I feel more comfortable. I feel like I have more control. Just to have my hands on the hoods, and I'm another one of those people too that I get poked at all the time when we get into a sprint. And you
sprint off the hoods too.
I sprint off the hoods too. I mean, I try to practice sprinting in the drops. I feel like I lose power there, and I can get my position moderately arrow, pretty close to what you would be if you were in the drops, and that's pretty much the big reason why you want to get yourself down on the drops is just to arrow. But I bend over, compensate that way, and then I feel like I can actually generate more power with my hands on the hoods.
As long as you're low. And I mean that's just the thing with cornering. It's just as long as you lower your center of gravity when you go into a corner. The last thing you want to do is be high, which when I first started racing crits, I was always you look at a picture, I was always the guy who was like a head above everybody else, which was not good.
And another thing, it might be because I spent so much time riding a mountain bike for so many years that I just
feel a higher position. position.
Exactly, and I've always just compensated by, all right, you just lower your torso, bend your elbows a little bit more, put yourself in that position.
Yeah.
That's just my 2 cents. But
yeah, Jay's right with the pressure on the outside foot and cornering is big, and that's anybody who's ever crashed in a corner. It's probably because of a couple reasons. One, you either just got unlucky and slid out, or because you actually tried to pedal a little bit too early or shift your weight onto the inside foot a little bit too early.
Gotcha.
Yeah, which is, I mean, if anybody's ever seen a bad corner crash, it's sometimes the guy who tries to start pedaling a bit too early before he actually comes out of that turn.
Yep.
You slid out, what was it, like 2 months ago? You were
Yeah.
working with the juniors.
Yeah, and it was on my gravel bike.
Oh.
Which you think I'd have like great
More grip.
hand. Well, and
Just
we
took it too hard.
We just did a roundabout and just kind of slid out. I think there was a little bit of car oil there. It was a pretty wet day too.
I remember that day.
Yeah.
Jay
was with us. Yeah.
Like, hey, what are you doing over there?
It was
back on your bike.
It was a slow enough speed crash. It was one of those crashes you just like kind of lay down, pick the bike back up, jump back on. You're going like 6 miles an hour around a turn.
I wish I had my little laugh track button. I would hit that.
Oh yeah.
Little.
Oh, and the best part of that crash too was you know what's funny? I remember I crashed once when I was young during a cornering practice kind of team thing we did. And then, fast forward 10, 11, 12 years or whatever, and now I'm like trying to teach juniors how to do it and also lay the bike down. Yeah. It's like, you just need to not follow my line through corners is what you need.
So there are some things with respect to your bike that's going to help you have better bike handling skills. And some of those things might be like tire pressure. It might be a proper bike fit. It might be, the kinds of surfaces that you're riding on, making sure that you have the right kinds of tires on there.
Yeah.
That all can make a huge difference. Like if you're trying to ride... we'll just say like your road bike on a gravel ride. Obviously, you're not going to have the same traction as if you're going to have a 40 mil tire on there that's going to give you a lot more like traction and things of that nature, and it's not going to wash out as easily. So those are some basic things. Are there any other little bike related things that you can think of? Dropper post. Dropper posts.
I have a dropper post on my mountain bike and my gravel bike.
You're adding it to your road bike.
And I would love to have it on
That
my
was
road
where I was
bike.
going with that question. Do you think that there's a place on a road bike to put a dropper post on there to get yourself lower? So you've got guys sitting on that top tube all the time on the descents. Why not come up with something that doesn't add that much weight to the bike?
Because it does add weight to the bike, though.
Because it does add weight to the bike.
Well,
sitting on the top
NASA,
tube
come up with some sort of helium-filled supercar.
True.
I don't know.
A dropper post would be much safer than sitting on the top tube.
Yeah.
Sitting on the top tube is 4 inches lower than even with a dropper post.
Yep.
And so you can get a little lower and more aero. So
guys will do it either way.
Yeah, they would do it either way.
They're going to do it either way.
I tell you, I struggled with whether I should put one on my gravel bike, and I love having the dropper post on my gravel bike because every time it gets sketchy, if you mountain bike enough, you realize how beneficial a dropper post is for cornering.
I don't even understand why. Here's the thing. I'm like the triathlete guy, right? Like, when would you use this?
So I don't even know. It's
I have no clue.
It's all descending.
All descending.
All descending. If you're
get low,
it's not just low. It's weight back.
Right.
To get your weight back over a seat that is not dropped down is very difficult. You can't get it back far enough. The seat is hitting you in the
nether regions.
Yeah. Hoo-ha. So if you drop your seat, 50 millimeters or 5
then
centimeters,
your butt is like over the back tire.
Yeah.
Okay.
The seat is sitting near your stomach,
right?
Because you're way back, and all of a sudden it's way easier to descend things. And even if there's like tight whoop corners, like S corners that are really tight. If your seat is down and your weight is back, it's really easy to take the corners way faster than if you're sitting up front and up over the top of the bars. So
you'll go over.
Yeah, because you go over. Your center of gravity is more forward. With the seat drop down, your body, the behind the seat, you can take the corners faster and you can just descend faster.
Now on a gravel bike, when do you find yourself using it? Because
difficult descents. Okay. So a straight up, right, straight descent on a gravel road, no. But oftentimes in these gravel races or even on gravel rides, you'll hit a crazy difficult section that is very steep. And boy, you just drop the seat post down and you get your weight back further, and all of a sudden, ving, you just rip through it. Yeah, you just rip through it. Or if you're trying to be more aerodynamic and sitting on the top tube on a gravel ride is
pretty sketch.
Pretty sketch.
I'm sure you've done it.
I have, and I don't do it anymore.
Good.
Because you just never know what's coming on a gravel road.
Right.
You're always watching for that one odd boulder or pothole or something, because on gravel roads you can run into any of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
But with a dropper post, I drop my seat down and I sit on the seat with my weight down, and suddenly I'm more aero, so I'm going faster, and I'm still in a position to bunny hop stuff if I need to. If you're on the top tube, you cannot bunny hop.
Right.
But with your seat dropped, you still can.
Don't tell the pro Peloton that. I'm sure those guys could probably bunny hop somehow.
You watch them every time. Every time they come to something, they all pop up.
They pop up. Yeah.
They get off the top tube.
Yeah.
So
those guys get on the top tube even on like it just random situations. Like they're hitting like a hard left turn. They're just like on the top tube, lean the bike somehow. It's amazing. It's like watching motocross.
I've done a lot of descending on the top tube, and taking corners is scary because you have so much weight on that front wheel.
Watching the tour, I saw so many of those guys on the top tube look a little shaky.
Yes, you're not
didn't look good.
No, you are squirrelier because all your weight is forward on that.
Yeah.
It's like you're on a time trial.
See,
bike.
I just hold the flat bar all the way at the stem and just get my chin onto my hands, but keep my butt on the seat, so that if something bad is about to happen, I can at least get my hands out to the bars and not have to worry about where my butt is.
I keep my hands on the brakes even when I'm sitting on the top tube.
It's pretty smart.
Yeah.
Real quick, this is not talking
I'm
about
going
what.
off.
No, it's
Sorry.
all right. No, it has nothing to do with what you were just talking about. But I just wanted to come back to riding in a group or a pace line. I just had a quick question for you. Let's say that you're at the front of the group that you're riding with, and you're coming into a climb, and all of a sudden said climb gets pretty steep, and everybody's still kind of in pace line format. You probably will at some point in time get out of the saddle, correct? And then if you're second wheel, it's not really bike handling. It's more of like just knowing about bike positioning.
It's awareness.
Etiquette.
Yeah.
It's etiquette. Just know that if somebody's going to get out of the saddle, the second they get out of the saddle, their bike is going to drop back a couple inches.
Like lurch back.
It
lurches
lurches back.
Yeah.
And if you're not ready for that, and you're
going to clip their wheel.
Exactly.
Yep.
You're hugging that. You're going to have to quickly learn how to handle your bike because you just had somebody potentially take out your front wheel or bump you or do something that's going to cause not good things.
It is a skill to learn how to get out of the saddle without lurching back, without the lurch back, trying to keep your momentum going the same forward instead of lurching back when you get out of the saddle.
Yeah, that's
It
something
takes
that
some
I
practice.
try and work on all the time.
Especially if somebody's on your wheel.
Yeah, I can remember when I first started doing group rides, and I remember there was a section that we used to do when I lived down in Southern California, and there was a bunch of skilled cyclists that I rode with, and they had many years of riding on me. And I remember like trying to push the line, and I'm trying to keep pace up, and I'm trying to keep the speed up, and we'd hit some like rollers, and I come out of the saddle, and I would always get yelled at like, "Don't lurch back, don't do that when you're up there." So it's like, all right, well, you can still do that. It's just a matter of like having to put down some serious power before you come up, and it just becomes part of like a pedal stroke, and then you like and at the same time that you're kind of surging forward, that's when you come out of the saddle and you kind of keep that, and you don't really fall back. You might still just a tiny bit, but you don't have that surge
a
back.
little bit more power before standing up.
Yes,
gets you, and that gives probably a little bit of a gap to the person in second as well.
Yes.
So if you put 500 watts down for a second and then stand up and put 500 watts in,
it almost negates that fallback.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
I don't know. That was just something I wanted to put out there. All right, Evan, I've got another question for you, and then we'll try and wrap this thing up real quick.
Yeah.
What are some things that we could do off the bike to help us handle our bike?
Handling on the bike, yeah.
So I'm thinking about some stuff that can possibly be done down here at the Dialed Endurance Lab with respect to working on my balance, working on my core, my flexibility, my proprioception.
So it's interesting. I was just having this conversation actually over the weekend. I actually think it may. What was it with Sean Martin? It may have been with Sean. Talking about how differently just the elite cyclists train now compared to how they did in the 60s and 70s. And this is just looking at athletes in general. In the 60s and 70s, strength training was not really something I think a lot of athletes were putting into their resume, into their routine. So looking at guys like Peter Sagan, John Dagenkolb is actually a great example, and a few others that are these great one-day guys. I'm not sure how much some of the Grand Tour guys are. I know Roglic does a ton of strength training.
Yeah.
But I think Roglic is a little bit new. He's from that skiing background, and I think Roglic is going to bring in a little bit more strength training focus into those Grand Tour type riders. Lance Armstrong famously did a lot of strength training as well. There's definitely benefits when you're talking about purely power profile development, but more importantly is to how does Peter Sagan and Caleb Ewan look so comfortable sprinting at 42 miles an hour between guys?
Yeah.
Their proprioception, which is your body's sense of where you are in space, and power production from that proprioception is why Caleb Ewan wins races.
Right. Yeah.
Outside the fact that he's incredibly fast, so is everybody else that he's sprinting against.
Pocket rocket, yep.
Yeah. What makes Caleb Ewan different? People are like, oh, it's because he's small and he can get in those spaces. There's plenty of small guys out there. What he does is incredible in the sense that he's able to whip the bike side to side. The amount of core control and balance that takes is amazing. If you're thinking, okay, I want to strength train specifically for cycling, you need to be very strong in a single leg stance in deep knee flexion. So, for example, just think of like a pistol squat. I mean, if you look at Peter Sagan's Instagram, he's doing crazy strength training stuff all the time. I think the most ridiculous thing I saw is he had somebody load up a back squat on him, and he was standing on a Theraball. Not a Bosu ball. He was standing on a Theraball, which is the round ball that you sit on if you're working from home and your back hurts. He was standing on that with like 225 pounds on his back. That is a deep knee flexion position. And when we're talking about proprioception, that means his hip, knees, and ankles have to be incredibly aware of where they are in space at all times.
Yep.
So how does he weave in and out while putting out 1,500 watts? The guy trains it off the bike.
Right.
Yes, it is. You have to practice it on the bike. But if you're somebody who that does not come down, if you're not the level of athlete Peter Sagan is, you can train that through improving that ability to descend into knee flexion under stress and stay balanced. Because that's basically, I mean, when you talk about, imagine right now everybody's picturing a sprinter. Imagine how much canter there is in that bike. That means kind of a diagonal angle. There's a reason you can put out more power into a bike outdoors than indoors. Indoors, my trainer, well, I guess some of the new trainers do this. Imagine your old fluid trainer. That thing does not whip back and forth side to side. You can't engage your core. You can't pull back on the bike. You can't put it at an angle to where your power's going through at a more like just straight down. That's you don't get that on an indoor trainer. This is why when you go outside, you can put out your max watt sprint, go inside, and it's like 400 watts less inside.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But you do that, you can improve that through things outside of just sprinting on the bike. There's balance training, you know. I'll use a classic example like a Romanian deadlift to pistol squat combination. Everything like that does improve that ability to rip the bike back and forth and produce power into it.
Where do I sign up? Sign me
up.
Take my money.
Come on to Dialed Endurance Lab. There you go.
.com.
The Instagrams, the Facebookies, the Google, all those
Find
things.
us.
Yeah, find us. And then you'll probably just end up talking to me at some point. We'll set something up.
Awesome. Anything else?
Rollers. We never talked about rollers.
Ooh, that's a good one.
I use rollers for like a winter when maybe like the second year I was biking consistently, and man, that made a huge difference.
You're a champ. I've never even ridden rollers before.
Well, the rollers I have are like pretty lenient, and you learn all of that like core strength and stuff just because you have to stand up.
Yeah,
and it's great, and you do that for a little while, and then like it's neat to see someone, go through that winter of training, right?
Gotcha.
Like it's like totally different biker.
Yeah. I would really highly recommend wherever you're at, go see if you can seek out like a club or some sort of person that puts on clinics for riding off-road.
Right.
I really think that pays such big dividends. It's fun too because you get to be on a bike and you get to go out and you get to do different things and you get to become skilled at riding in a different kind of terrain so that you can kind of break up the monotony. But learning how to position yourself, how to bunny hop, how to like pull the wheel up and over things, all that, like turning versus steering, the whole bit. You can learn it in that kind of a situation, and I think that those are really valuable. So seek some of those out, and heck, maybe we need to start putting something like that together. The Lance Hepler School of Bunny Hopping and
Hepler's School of Fun.
Do you know how I've
Everybody
learned?
jump in the van.
Oh, sounds sketchy.
I hate to say this, but I think I'm a pretty good bike handler, And the reason I think I'm a pretty good bike handler is because I've crashed so many times that I've learned where
don't do that.
Where the limits are.
Yep.
Yeah.
Where the edges are, you know?
I think crashing, this is a tough conversation I've had to have with some of the young kids, is I know it's scary, but crashing is kind of important. It's part have you guys ever met a cyclist who's road raced consistently, who's been like, yeah, I went like 3-4 years and didn't crash? That like does not happen. I'd love to hear somebody's comment who's gone 3-4 consistent years of racing without crashing.
Not very often.
No. It's also good to like in the races crash and have bumps, bruises, and the road rash scars so that you kind of realize like it takes some of the fear away from it. Now I know that we have somebody at the table who's gone through much worse, but when we're talking like in race crashes that you kind of survive and like are able to go through,
been there.
I think it starts to take a little bit of that edge away from, I want to be careful into this corner because I'm afraid to slide out.
Right.
Once you slide out a couple times and you're like, sleeping with stuff for like 4 or 5 days, and then you're like, okay, after that, takes some of the fear away.
Always keep your eyes up too, folks. Pay attention. There's a lot of things that we hit that cause us to go down, and we hit those things because we just didn't see them. You know, like pine needles on the road, sand on the road, water on the road, soap if you're racing in big stage races on the road. Look out for that kind of stuff.
Soap sponsors.
And just try not to hit that stuff.
You're screwed if you hit soap. There's nothing you can do if you hit soap. You're going down.
Story time.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
Last week, I did this ride called the Wasatch Crest. It goes basically from Park City into Salt Lake. It was mountain biking. We went from the top of Guardsman Pass all the way down into the sandy area of Utah. It's a mountain bike ride.
Sure.
Absolutely beautiful ride, mostly all single track, and it was kind of ripping fast. I'm riding with a buddy of mine, Jason Woodland, and his son, Jackson, and his daughter. So there were 4 of us. Me and the son kind of got way further ahead of the group. And I'm cruising along on this. We'd done a ton of downhill, a ton of sketchy stuff. I'd never crashed at all. I'm going along this single track trail, and I turn around to see where Jackson is, to see if he is close to me, and immediately rode right off the trail and just crashed into the dirt. I turned around for 2 seconds, turned my head just to see if I could see, where's Jackson at? Is he close to me? And wham! I immediately
The worst part
crashed.
is you probably did that like a dozen other times and had no consequences, and then it's like...
The one time I just went just off the trail enough that I couldn't save it and turfed.
Yep. Looking over your shoulders, a learned skill for sure, because your
Especially
body's going to
mountain
veer, and good times.
See, I'm still crashing.
Yay.
See, but that's actually important. I mean, when we talk about biking, it's just being able to look both ways, and then not only being able to look both ways, also being able to like grab bottles with both hands.
Yeah.
God, you know what's funny? I had a friend of mine who was, she raced at a pretty high level for a while, and she had kind of an embarrassing little deficit in her bike handling skills. Like she would not grab bottles with her right hand for the longest time. Huh. And then she got into, I forget what big race it was, but she was racing with the Conti team. And she had to, in the training up to that race, had to practice because anybody who's ever been in a big race before knows bottle hand ups are on what side? Right side. She had never taken a bottle hand up. She had won 1-2 races. Never taken a bottle hand up on the right side.
Right.
Everybody who knew her would, during these bigger races, run to her left side and give her the bottle. So she had to like practice for a month and she ended up getting comfortable with it. That was a big moment for her when she was like able at 20 miles an hour to take a bottle hand up on the right side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool. Good story. One last thing. Who wants to go first? Matt.
GoPro video, people. We were talking about it before the podcast.
I started watching that. It was really cool. It was like a 20-minute video. I only saw the first 5 minutes, but it was very helpful.
I like that video a lot, Matt. And I told you that before the podcast. That's one of your better videos. I think you did a really good job with it.
I don't know if it's one of my best videos. I don't know. I'm a big critic of my stuff, but it's...
You had this transition in the pool area where a guy walked across the front of the screen.
That was me.
Yeah,
I thought it was lame.
The transition was really... I was like, wow.
I thought the transition was a little bit lame.
I thought it was cool.
I think what you could have done there was you could have had like a wave kind of like crash in and then into the pool, just like... and then Matt just like...
I've had a transition before where the GoPro's on the edge of the pool and, I do like a kickflip or something like that and the water comes down and it like washes into some other part of the video.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you guys are interested in the GoPro Hero 9 that was just released last week, I picked one up and I made a review of it. I did the unboxing bit. You can check all of that out on the YouTubes. That's youtube.com/imlegrand.
How much do you like that thing?
It's good. I mean, I feel like I rushed that video out. I haven't had that much time to play with it. It's,
really?
I mean, I haven't been using the front-facing camera. I think it's a good thing because you can frame your shots. I think it's a little bit bigger camera. You know, that's like what you first notice when you play with it. But I don't think the size is going to bother me at all. I think the quality looks good. Stabilization looks great. 5K is great. I mean, I don't think 5K that you necessarily need 5K versus 4K because you're never going to notice the difference. But I always love having the extra resolution because you can reframe shots.
Yes.
And so people are always like, you don't need 4K. 4K is stupid. All you need is 1080p. And I'm like, that's fine. Make everything in 1080p. But if you have 4K, then you can reframe your 1080p into whatever you want.
Add
you can
motion to the videos.
Yeah, you can add motion to the videos, all this stuff. And so I like the camera. I was kind of planning on picking up whatever GoPro released next because I was on the GoPro 7 and I use these cameras a lot. And so they released the 9, ordered it right away in the first day. I almost didn't because the batteries don't, they're inconsistent with the previous version's
new battery size.
But I just went for it, and you do get more battery life. That's something along the lines of 30% more battery life.
Yeah,
which is great. But I mean, I love being able to have 4 old batteries that I can switch out with all the other stuff that I have. And so having the new battery, and I bought the new charger piece for the battery, which I think you need to do because you need more than one battery. Yeah. So,
well, this is the 3rd iteration in a row, if I'm not mistaken.
Not in a row.
No, hold on.
Batteries.
You can't use a GoPro Hero 7 and a Hero 8.
The batteries you can't?
No.
Oh.
They're slightly different. So
you're kidding me.
No. So if I'm not,
sure?
I'm pretty sure.
This is a 7.
Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that
you can. We're going to check after the podcast.
I think you can use an 8 and a 7, but you can't use a 7 and an 8, and then obviously you can't use any of them in a 9. So
my
there's an omission.
Sure.
Put them on standby.
I think 6 and 7 are all in the same battery. Maybe 5, 6, 7.
Same size, but I don't think that they work with the different cameras.
Maybe the 5 is the old one where the charging thing was flipped. Yeah. Anyway, the new batteries, they look good. I don't know. I mean, it's a pain to deal with lots of different batteries, but it's not a deal breaker.
Yeah.
And they upped the price. So it's not, I mean, they did something else that's a little bit creepy, which is they have this GoPro Plus service, and they're like, we're going to make this GoPro cost more, $450, the big price tag for this. But you can have $100 off if you sign up for their GoPro Plus membership. So everyone's like, yeah, I'm going to do that. But then if you read the fine print, if you cancel the membership, which is like what normal people would do, like I'm going to sign up for this thing and I'll cancel it so that I don't get charged the next year.
Yeah.
They will charge your credit card the difference for the discount of the camera that you bought.
Oh.
That's not cool. So it's like you thought you had this $100 discount. They're going to charge you that $100 back if you cancel that GoPro Plus membership.
Yeah, that's
my recommendation on the video is literally for people to use one of those prepaid cards. Sign up for that. Sign up for the membership. When it expires, they'll try to charge your card. It won't work. Move on with life.
That's smart.
Which I didn't do that, but I wish I had.
With Matt.
Yeah. I wish I had done that. But
Matt's just getting videos taken off of YouTube all the time. He's got Trek chasing his videos. He's got Iron Man chasing his videos.
People hate me. People hate me.
The most hated man on YouTube, Matt LeGrand.
How can you hate those baby blue
baby blue eyes? I have a whole bunch.
Iron Man, Trek, and GoPro do.
I have a whole bunch of watch reviews coming out. I hate to do tons of product reviews because I feel like that's not exactly what the channel is supposed to be. But Garmin 745, I'm looking at a whole bunch of different colors right now, and I'm excited to take one of those home. The Garmin 745 is the new triathlon watch, and it's a slightly better price than the top-of-the-line 945. So I'm excited to review that one coming up probably in the next week. I think I'll be able to try and get that out. And then there's some other companies that have some more releases coming soon. And I have another fun video coming out where we talk about who I think would have won in Kona. So
I love that video.
Fun. I think that's actually.
Can I be a part of that video somehow?
I really wanted
to take hot takes.
I wanted to. We should have a Kona takeover or something. But I wanted to.
Daniela Reef wouldn't be in the top 10. Boom, hot take.
That's incorrect. But what I wanted to do was have like pro triathletes put in their predictions for who they think would have won, and I don't think that I'll ever get to that this year. I'm gonna save that for next year.
Yeah.
So.
Cool.
It's an awesome video idea.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Bryce, one last thing.
Does anybody have any good eye doctors locally? That's my one last thing is please comment on this video with your favorite local eye doctor.
Good question.
My eyes are bad, and I am running very low on contacts.
I read a Google review about you having like god-awful terrible eyes.
I have very, very bad eyesight. This is what
great physical therapist.
People who ride with me have decided that the reason I am a solid C+ at descending is because I have very bad depth perception.
Actually, a huge part of bike handling has to do with vision.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure if you talk to Julian
coming.
Alaphilippe, he doesn't have my vision. I can promise you that much.
Ask my wife too, because she'll have some ideas.
That's what I was going to ask. Was
Okay.
Kristen? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Because I need to go see somebody. It's been a while since I got a new contact
It's
script.
worth
Maybe
it.
I'll just be amazing at descending right after that.
That's possible.
Just be like gain 5 miles an hour descending.
At
At least.
Yeah.
And it makes you more aerodynamic. Good
It does.
vision. Yeah.
Good contacts make you more aerodynamic.
Cool. Yep.
The reason I am sitting here today is because I came back from Utah to pick up my cyclocross bikes because there is potential for some racing in Utah.
Oh.
So there is a company that is doing
Quick, steal one of his cycle bikes. He has to come back. We'll give it to you next Monday.
There's a company doing some cyclocross races. They're smaller races around the Salt Lake, Ogden area, and I'm going to go see if they look safe enough to participate in and maybe do a couple cyclocross races. So
you're back for 48 hours to pick up bikes, and you're heading back to Utah.
That's correct.
Dang it.
That's the plan. There's also the Belgian Waffle Ride is a very popular gravel race that happens in San Diego. This year they had 3 races happening, one in San Diego, one in North Carolina, and one in Cedar City, Utah.
Oh, yeah.
The South one and the San Diego one both were canceled, but the Cedar City one is still happening.
Okay, so here's my question for you. You've got to pick up 2 bikes.
Yep.
You only have so much space in the van.
Correct.
Which bikes are you leaving home?
Brandy's bikes.
Which bikes are you leaving in my garage?
This is a very difficult conversation.
I know, right?
Is Brandy going with you?
Yeah, she is definitely going with me because I might be gone for months. There's a possibility I'm gone for months.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why don't you just like
cyclocross races?
Fly back and forth?
You could fly back for the Monday podcast.
Because in between the races, we might go down to St. George where it's 85 degrees and hang out for a couple days and then come back up and do the races. No, I will be either taking a trailer or the hitch rack with extra bikes so that we have all.
Are you guys
going to
rent a place?
No, I know enough people with garages and space that we. Yeah,
hey, use your shower. Hey, open the door, shower.
Yeah, exactly. I know enough people, and I've got 2 kids that live there, and they both have houses, and so we'll be able to stow stuff. Yeah, I think so.
So we'll see Thanksgiving.
Maybe after Thanksgiving.
Oh my goodness!
Jeez.
It just depends on if the races are safe, if it's fun, if it's all working.
Yeah.
I kind of do want to come back in October to pick up my ballot and make sure I vote. So we might have to make a return trip to put my ballot in.
We'll take you however we can get you.
Okay. That's
cool.
it.
Real quick before my one last thing, those Hero 8. The GoPro Hero 8
7, 8.
So you've got the GoPro Hero 8. The older batteries will work on them, but there's certain limitations and functions that don't work because of performance stuff. So they recommend that you do use the Hero 8 battery. So
weird.
That's what I just read. So
interesting.
My one last thing is our first dialed cycling YouTube video will be out before this podcast goes live on Wednesday. Yes.
Fantastic.
Really? It's about 99.3% done. I gotta just put in a couple little things.
Okay, so when you do have the video finished, keep in mind that you've got to make the thumbnail, you've got to upload that, you got to put all the information into the thing, all the tags, all the descriptions.
Done.
Okay, never mind. You're done.
99.3% done. I just got to add some stuff, and I wanted Lance to take a look at them. Heck, I might even have you take a peek at it.
How did you? Okay, so you've uploaded. It just hasn't been set as public, basically.
No, it's not.
The video's not.
I haven't uploaded it to YouTube yet. The
you have
video's
all of that
done.
stuff written to the side, all the tags.
Yes,
I do that stuff like while it's uploading. You're way ahead of me. way ahead.
I have to because it takes forever and I don't have a lot of time. So anyway, that should be fun. And we've got 3 other ones in the can. So we've got some stuff to post up. I guess I'll just be flying solo on these. Or
Jake and I have been having fun making these videos, but if I'm not around, if we can't make videos together,
sub me in.
We might have to
put me in, coach.
Are you thinking like once a week, once a month, maybe bi-week?
It would be fun to do once a week. I don't know if that's realistic. It just has a lot to do with how things go down here at the lab, but we're doing good. We're getting caught up on stuff. I want to make that happen. And the ones that we've done so far have been a little bit long. I think that we could probably trim them down a little bit.
Because I can't shut up.
I think that's both of us, to be honest with you. It's like
start. Why don't you start every other week and then go from there? You can always add more. It's always easy to add more. It's little. You feel guilty when you start taking things away. Like, I'm gonna post instead of posting every week. I'm gonna post every 2 weeks. People get cranky. Like Evan gets mad when I don't post a video.
I text him.
What's that GoPro video? Come on,
come on, man.
This is a triathlon channel. Come on.
Talk about practice.
What you talking about?
All right. Anyway, so that should be out this week, and we will post more soon.
Exciting.
So good times.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Sorry for such another long podcast, but hey, all of us, we can't shut up.
Wait, I got another story to tell. Wait a minute. I'm just kidding.
All right. We will see you all next week. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.